Welcome to another episode of Hosts4Hire. I am Kyle Cage. This is Lucas Rand, and we are your hosts for hire. We are very excited to get back into X-Men 97 today. This will be a continuation of our last episode where we talked about everything under the sun when it came to episodes 1 through 5. And now we're going to do the same for the 6 through 10. The final 3 are a doozy. So consider this a spoiler warning if you haven't seen it. And just like last week, we're really excited to get in. So let's just hop right into it. We're starting with episode 6, though, at the very beginning. The way it starts with Charles way out in the Shi'ar Empire was great. It was a way to distance from the tragedy. It was a way to like make us marinate in the tragedy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Going to Storm and just going back and forth between Storm and Charles, who neither of them have any idea what had happened at that point.
Yeah, that was really cool, and like you said, it was a good way to have a little bit of a bridge of just what happened in episode 5. You know, not have to address it right away. And then they address it in the next episode, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I thought that this episode was awesome. Getting to see the Shi'ar Empire was really, really cool. Getting to see Charles kind of like don that armor of his that lets him walk. Dude, I had, as a child, no joke, I had an action figure of Charles in that like Shi'ar suit. And when I saw that, like, I was like, whoa, that is so cool. Oh my God. So that was like an extra awesome moment.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, also what I thought was really cool is the Imperial Guard, dude.
Oh.
They were in like the OG show. I remember them being in it quite a bit, especially during like the Lilandra episodes. But still, it was so cool. Man, Gladiator. What a fucking absolute badass.
Just like effortless is like the word to describe how he fights and the way he moves and his mannerisms and way of being is just effortless. He has no worries.
Did that really cool. There was a few cool Imperial Guards, like Flashfire looked really cool. I think I saw Vulcan. I wonder if he's gonna have a bigger part in the whole like Summers.
I really hope so because they are building that up.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Another thing that you mentioned that I thought was really cool about this episode is that it kind of follows that like old classic like 90s like show episode
conception
arc. Yeah, where it's like between two different episodes and it kind of like pops between both of those stories.
Yeah, kind of like episode 4, but instead of it being like one and then the other, it was more interwoven.
Yeah, which was really cool. It was done really well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The just going along with Gladiator, like just everything about him, the way that him and Charles, like the way that they talk, like it was their relationship was amazing.
Cool. Yeah, I agree that it felt very reminiscent of his like relationship with Magneto, like when he, Gladiator kind of is like, oh, like that's like foolish. And he's like, oh, like I have a friend on Earth that would like very much agree with you.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know, like it was really good. The whole thing of what Deathbird asks of him, though, like that is like a little ridiculous, and like that's like he wouldn't be him. Like that's what it is. Like that, like without his experiences,
essentially they were asking him to kind of become like Lilandra's like puppet.
Exactly, where he would have no like, free thoughts of his own.
And he was just like, oh, I'm hoping, but I guess like believing in her that like she wouldn't like just take full advantage like that.
Yeah,
but she that brings me to a good point that she was actually pretty manipulative in like her trying to convince him, like when she's like kind of like telling him like all the things that like she gave up like in order for their like relationship, even though like she's the empress now and like she kind of like benefited from like her brother being a tyrant like super hard. I don't know, it just felt like extremely manipulative. And then Charles eventually gives it, you know, like he was gonna agree.
And specifically when she says like, "Don't you love me?" Like, right? It was at that moment that I was like, "That was kind of fucked up."
That was a little fucked
up. I don't like that. That was a little fucked up.
Yeah. But and I like a line that he says back to her. He says, "I wasn't aware that me and my X-Men were playing make believe," because she kind of like makes it. She kind of like almost like discredits like the weight of everything his experiences as an
everything he'd done up to
his whole life.
a
It's
year
almost like
ago.
she kind of feels like her sister a little bit, where like the Shi'ar are so above that like all of your earthly accomplishments are so small compared to what it would be to be the emperor of the Shi'ar Empire. That like, why are you even considering?
Yeah.
Type shit. And it was just like, that's my life, bro. Like,
Yeah. Well, what's really fucking crazy is even though he hesitates, he was still gonna. He was still
no,
gonna
he was
do it.
gonna do it. He was gonna do it
Like
until he
after
caught like that
even
mental.
wave, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even like up to the point where he was like, I've forgotten my greatest gift. Hear me now.
Mm.
Class is in session.
Dude, that was
Like
awesome.
that was a fucking great moment. And B, it was just even though he was showing he like that whole scene was him basically explaining to them and trying to reason with them as to why he should be able to keep his memories and leave.
And be right.
Like he was gonna do it, but he was also gonna try and reason with them as to why
Yep.
that's a terrible idea, because it is.
Which was
But
pretty cool to me. Also, the
yeah,
fact that like he kind of gave up being like a galactic emperor to go back.
mm-hmm.
Because of like, well, I guess like he thought Magneto and Gambit had died, and like all of the other mutants that died in Genosha. He kind of like felt their wave like all at once.
I also thought it was interesting that it took the whole episode for that wave to hit him.
Yeah,
Like
and it took him
took
another whole
time.
episode to get there.
Yeah,
Like
it
like
took
he's
time for
farther
that
away.
mental
Yeah,
that psionic wave to hit
yeah,
him.
definitely.
And same with Storm, like she was completely cut off from the world, from news, from technology, and like then she finally turned on the TV and she saw
Her,
that it had
right,
already
her and
happened.
Forge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that part of the episode with Storm, really thought the adversary was a cool villain here. Such an obscure. I'd never even heard of it before. Had to look it up to like
Same.
find out like what it was. Uh,
Really
and it was
interesting
just like
that
a
they
really
used a
cool.
Forge villain, which is like awesome. Like
It was just cool how it used like all her insecurities against her. How like it would like make tight spaces and like like bring out her claustrophobia and like make her like deal with like shit that like wasn't
it,
happening. It was just like
that
happening in her
and that
mind.
like the adversary was a reflection of her insecurities and
Mhm.
fears. And I
Yeah.
can't believe you caught this. You weren't sure. We ended up looking it up, but I cannot believe you caught that. It was the same voice actor for Storm as the adversary. So it was literally the same person reflecting the insecurities and fears
Which
back
is really
on
cool.
Storm.
Like I said, I like caught some of her voice inflections, and I was like, man, this sounds like the same voice actor. Like if it is, like she's incredible. Which, by the way, all of the voice actors in this show are incredible, but the ones that returned, like the returning voice actors, Storm was one of them. I think Wolverine, Rogue,
and Beast.
there was one more, Beast.
Yeah.
Just so cool, dude.
They all did such a great job, obviously, and
Fantastic.
like the fact that they were able to get them is just it's that's
Absolutely.
great.
Also, speaking of in this, or not speaking of, but something else that happened that was crazy in this episode that I was not ready for was Forge busting out some Doctor Strange magic. What was the?
Yeah, like that desert magic.
Yeah,
He was
like,
just, he did.
was like a desert magic user. Like,
Yeah, she dabbled, and apparently some of it sunk in, even though I wanted to ignore it. Like, but like of course he understands it. Like his brain, his mutant power doesn't allow him to not understand something that he thinks about.
you sent me a
Like,
message yesterday that was a cool Forge line where he's like, "How did you do this?" And he's like, "Thought about it."
yeah,
Like,
Hank is like talking about him blocking Magneto's pulse. Yeah, and he's
how'd
like,
you do that?
like that thought about it so casually, and Hank just was like, "Yeah, right."
That's like,
Yeah, and then
yeah.
Storm just
Can't say enough
let
about
them
Storm in this
wonder
episode.
for I am lightning. But that was such a cool scene, and just the way that her eyes lit up was so sick.
The black suit Storm, dude. How like we got to see this like the classic black suit.
Where that came from.
Yeah.
Like where like she like summoned it with like the power of the elements.
Power of the elements, dude.
So her suit is made out of like wind and lightning.
It's part of godlyhood. When you just achieve godliness, you can just summon clothing.
For real though, like that did confuse me.
Her Sailor Moon type
transformation.
yeah, speaking of a Sailor Moon type transformation, she was just like gliding on the air, just dancing, total Sailor Moon style, which was just
Absolutely.
awesome.
There was one moment where she like glided in and like came to a stop, and it looked like she was like almost like a ballet dancer. It
Yeah,
was the animation was just peak.
fantastic.
And then it ends with again like letting us like stew in the tragedy but also forget about it a little bit, and then right at the end being like, remember,
Yeah, that was awful. Just like, remember, you're sad. You're sad.
remember crying last episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Happy about Storm, but
Yeah.
you're sad. Which brings us to also they did such a good job with episode naming
Oh
in this show, which is like seems like super like nothing. Like, you know, that to me, like, naming shit is weirdly important. And like,
yeah.
I just name.
If you guys could see our outline right now, everything has a subtitle that is unnecessarily thought out.
I like to name things. It's important to me, and I don't know why, but they got it so good, dude.
They did. No,
They did
really
a great job with that. From like the line in the first episode with the tolerance is extinction to the last 3 episodes being tolerance is extinction. That is great. And then this episode, episode 7, Bright Eyes, man,
What a
that's perfect.
It's
so
perfect.
beautiful.
It's also heartbreaking.
Speaking of beautiful, dude, Kurt's
And
eulogy,
heartbreaking.
man, like you and I were talking about, we could like sit here and like quote this entire
The whole
eulogy
thing,
at you
yeah.
guys, but it would just be a total disservice of it. But like, man, just beautiful. Like
I got chills watching it both times. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to watch that scene and not get chills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it
when
was,
he says, "I think he was bluffing," man, that gets me.
oh,
Where he's like, "I think he was bluffing." God, it hurts.
and like the potential of things, like
Yeah, dude.
like
Yeah.
his power building into, dude. Everything we said it before. I'll say it again. Every single thing that came out of this man's mouth, out of Nightcrawler's mouth, was just wisdom. Was so
Poetic
well delivered.
wisdom.
It was well written, well delivered. Everything about it.
If a pastor would ever have talked to me in the way that
I'd be
Kurt speaks to
religious.
people, I'd be a religious man. Also, just their depiction of tragedy, not just with Gambit, but with like all of Genosha, was just so good. Like, just like the quiet in the scenes, like when they're showing, and it's just like this, like that somber, like you almost
And,
have like your like heart in your throat type shit, like while you're watching it.
Implications of that tragedy too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like there's
He
that quote,
says,
there's
I
the
think
quote,
he's like the death of a dream. Yeah.
That was that hit me so hard. Like,
That hurts. Scott in this episode had his very first Magneto never again moment. He says never again, and I was like, oh shit. He had his first.
where like it, and it just really goes to show how right Magneto was, that even Scott,
yeah, which is
starting to fold a little.
Headed old SOB.
Oh yeah, the hardest headed, like worse than Charles.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought was really, really cool with the depiction of tragedy and stuff was the way Beast kind of had that like clap back at that reporter friend of his when she's kind of trying to be sympathetic, but she says something like that's kind of tone deaf. I think she says, I don't really remember, but it's kind of like just like along the lines of like breaking stuff or like vandalism. Isn't like just yeah, like something like that. And the way that Beast like immediately flips on her and is like, yeah, you know, like maybe like actually our first mistake was like asking for your tolerance. Like maybe like if I don't know, he's like, if I've used up enough of your tolerance today, like I'll like move on.
Yeah, he said,
which is just great.
Something. Oh, what was it? It was something along those lines.
Yeah,
like, I won't take up any more of your tolerance.
Yeah, it's just kind of like one of those like, if you don't understand, you won't understand, and you can't understand, and like you're not gonna. So like I'm just like gonna walk away.
Yeah, there's no point in continuing this conversation.
Which was really, really cool, and like
yeah,
kind of really felt to me like a Black Lives Matter allegory. Like just like kind of the way that there was some tragedy going on, and like her focus was more on like less of the humanitarian problem and more of like the like, oh damn, like a whole city like got destroyed, less than like a people just got genocided.
Yeah,
type situation.
Like not understanding the real problem.
Yeah,
with
like it
what just
wasn't you,
happened.
you know, like it just like it wasn't her, so she couldn't like
There was
identify
no way
me.
for her to
Yeah,
do so.
which is
It's
really
just,
interesting.
it's great writing. It's just all great
Fantastic.
writing. I
Yeah.
also like when, I believe it's when Charles is talking to Kelly when he says like even one more survivor, when he's like trying to justify, he's like, oh, the UN can't send any more money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he's like, you haven't found a survivor in weeks. It might have been Scott, I don't remember, but he's like, even if we find one more survivor, and then they find Emma,
Yeah.
and it's
Scott
like,
actually is a great leader in this episode because he like goes up and he's like, "You, what we need to do is show people that like we're still out there. Show people that like mutants like haven't been like crumbled
yeah,
like
that the
by
X
this.
Men
That
are
like
still
we're
here.
helping.
That like,
That,
yeah,
like, not just the X-Men, but like when you go to Genosha, there's like doctors. You know, like Beast goes up to that like mutant doctor, and like they're like having that conversation, and there's just like I think Beast quotes it where he's like, "Wherever there's tragedy, like look where you can, and like you'll
it's
see people helping."
look for the helpers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, look for the help.
You'll always find helpers, and then the ever affable Mister Rogers.
Yeah,
What a miss
dude,
that's
I love
Mister
this.
Rogers, bro, dude.
Fuck.
It's so good. But yeah, like that whole like, and then they find her, and it has like a really, like, they show that it brings up everyone's their spirits by
Again, just like me watching it, like I was getting so teary eyed, like when like just how excited they are, and just like how like important, like you said, it is to like finding that one more person, which
yeah,
also brings the fact that I don't know if Emma's diamond powers like weren't a thing in the
yeah,
90s, or if she wasn't really very much in the show to where they didn't really get to show her diamond powers very much, or if it was kind of like a new thing to her character that happened after the show aired that they like got to use now. If you
yeah.
guys know the answer to that, let us know. Because that's something that was actually kind of cool to me, that like they got to use like the manifestation of her diamond power as the reason that she survived
Yeah, and
for
allowed
that
her.
long. You know,
Yeah,
like, especially if, like she was like
she
under
doesn't need
for, like, a while.
oxygen. Yeah,
It's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
but
then
then but we were talking a bit about Charles and Kelly, and there was a too real moment, like a really like realistic moment where Kelly says something along the lines of like, if it's not me, it'll be someone worse in
oh yeah,
office. Like, I'm trying to make sure someone worse doesn't get in office, and it's just like so
that smells
indicative.
like reality. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, that makes me think of my life, and I want to escape that with this. That's
Yeah.
why I watch
But
things
also
like
just
this.
fantastic writing, you know, like that is exactly like we mentioned a few moments in episodes 1 through 5 where there was like the um ugly side of humanity that like is depicted really well, that like if mutants were to be a part of our actual society, like we are that ugly head of ours like would rear up, like,
Absolutely, yeah.
you know, it already does with things that aren't even mutants, but yeah, it definitely would. What if this? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if there was suddenly people that were like superpowered? That'd be crazy. Our world would collapse, as we know. But another like really cool moment that I caught, that I'm not sure if you guys caught, was when Trask tells Scott, where he's like, "Tell me, orphan, how's it feel to be abandoned by the future?" And then fucking Cable like comes from the future immediately and stops him. Like that was like really cool. That
He's
was
like,
like a moment where like Trask was like trying to have his moment. He was like, "Ha,
and then
finally," and
and
then
then the
just gets
future
fucked.
comes. Then the future comes and saves him.
Yeah,
Doesn't abandon him, in fact.
yeah, I thought that was really really cool.
Yep.
Uh,
Rogue in this episode
mm,
was really I really really loved that they like had her have a moment in this episode where she was
yes,
just off doing her own thing, grieving. And
yes, yep,
and like that
yep.
rampage where it was just that montage of her just destroying shit.
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it, dude. Like she goes up and like holds like Ross by like the scruff. I was
Yeah.
like, "Whoa, is anybody gonna do something here?"
Like, that's the general of the army. Like, that is the top ranking person in the military,
Uh,
under the president.
yeah, that was really cool. Also, man, Cap. Seeing
Oh,
Cap was so cool. Just like one, seeing him was just awesome. I was like, "Whoa, I was not expecting that."
the first time when that shield came out, I audibly gasped. I was like,
Also, I absolutely love my favorite moments of Cap, like in the comics and in like most media, is like when he comes and he's kind of like the like government's like attack dog, you know, where like something's happening and they like send Cap out, and then he gets there and he's immediately like, all right, fuck the government, what are we doing? I'm actually on your side.
Yeah, well, I'm on the side of whoever's actually right,
Yeah,
regardless of who they told me was
yeah,
right.
he was like, what are we getting into? You know, like, because I'm trying to get into some shit. Let's do some stuff,
Yeah,
which is
but
great.
and then in this case, the shame in his face because of that when he has to tell her, with this one, my hands are tied.
Yeah, that one that was
Like,
really cool. That like you can see that felt to me like he in his mind was thinking like, I fought against like this before. Like this is what I was made to fight against. Like what's happening to
yeah,
these mutants. Like what's happening to these mutants is what was happening to people during World War II, where I was created to stop that. You know, like this feels
yeah,
fucked up type shit.
yeah, exactly.
You
And
know?
and he just, I don't know, the animation, the way that they're able to get the emotions so well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because of all of that, like, she didn't care though. She still was like, "Well, then you won't be needing this."
Yeah, just yeets his shield. Like Captain America's gonna need to wait until spring to get his shield because that
Gonna need a
one's gonna need a
big
thaw.
ass metal detector.
It's like, damn it! I knew I should have. Tony told me to get the magnet attachment. He said it. He said, "Get the long range magnet, Cap. You're gonna need it one day." And I said, "There's no need because I have these straps. They worked in '44 and don't work today."
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
He's like, "Yeah, no, lesson learned, lesson." Well, that also though brings to another rogue point. There's a lot of great rogue moments in this episode, and
Hmm.
one for me was like after she gets knocked out when she goes and confronts like um Guy Rich or
Yeah,
however you say his name.
Guy
Yeah, I
Rick,
never know.
I think.
Uh, and she gets like knocked out, and Kurt like grabs her and like teleports her away. Dude, my boy Kurt went and like organized with the X-Men and teleported her while she was knocked out to a Dia de los Muertos ceremony. Dude, like uh, that, like that to me is like the epitome of like a perfect man of faith, like someone that like incorporates like all cultures and like knows how to like pick from like every good
But
thing
also
to help
brings
somebody
brings someone who is horribly grieving death of a loved one to a celebration of
of
death,
death. Yeah, right.
to
Because
show
like
that it's
that's
not
yeah,
all sadness, that there
yeah,
is some good
yeah.
that that is
And
had.
another favorite moment of mine is like, dude, the voice. Speaking of the voice actress for Rogue being incredible, that like wail that she gets,
Oh,
that she like lets out like into his like chest, bro. That like
bone chilling.
it like gushed tears out of my eyes. I was just like, damn, dude, like you just don't hear that type of like agony often, like in
No.
like the human voice, and it was just so good. And
And them
then when
all
she
just
turns
being
around,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
dude,
So
shit got
good.
me,
It's
man.
good.
That shit got
And then
me
just like the
bad.
cutout, like the first time I paused, went outside, smoked. I was just like, I can't.
Need a cigarette.
I gotta take a break. That was a lot.
Yeah, man.
But then I came back and I was gonna wait to finish the rest of them the first watch through, but I made
Hmm.
the mistake of watching episode 8 and I had to watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, you can't really start episode 8 and not finish out the rest,
it's
which
just so good.
brings us to episode 8 and how awesome this 3-part tolerance is extinction episode. So let's just get right into it. So far, guys, how are we feeling? Are we doing all right? Let us know in the comments. I know that this is a lot to listen to at once. So like,
Yeah.
are we keeping you guys engaged, or is there things that we could do in the in between that might help out a little bit?
Yeah, let us know. Anything helps, whether it
Yeah.
be telling us, ideas on what to do or just telling us that we're shit. It doesn't matter. We want to hear it all.
Absolutely. So yeah, to me, this episode starts really cool. When Cable reveals that Bastion's war lasted like 300 years, that's like pretty crazy. Because that to me means that he went forward in time as well as backward in time to try to stop Bastion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Because
he's from what, 2900? So
well, like I
he's
guess at the end of
from
the show they go to 3060 AD,
3060.
and he's like a kid. I don't
Yes.
really know where they send him.
So they
It's
go.
really interesting,
He
actually.
he ends up being 1,000 years in the
Yeah,
future.
very
You
far into
know,
the
like,
future.
so
Yeah,
600-700 years after Bastion's war ended, and however long after his utopia ended.
yeah, that's very interesting. I wonder because yeah, they do depict that Bastion created a utopia, not a dystopia, which was pretty cool. That like what he did like worked. Like he kind of did, he like strips the individuality out of humanity and out of the planet Earth, but like in a way, like he makes it like utopia, which is
Yeah.
really interesting.
I just also realized that the future that they went to would be different than the future that Cable grew up in,
Oh, yeah, very interesting because of
because
what they
that
did.
300-year war and that utopia never
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, that's very interesting. Shit, didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in this episode, we also learn that there's like a little bit of a connection between like maybe either the MCU or other animated universes where
Like
Doctor Strange exists. Because
what if? Like,
yeah,
we
because
talked
Beast
about that.
says that he learned about absolute points from mystics in Kamertage, which is really cool.
Which is
Because
the
like
second, or it ends up being third. There's three Doctor
Doctor
Strange
Strange
references.
references, yeah, which is pretty cool. Cool. Also, speaking of the Doctor Strange cameos and stuff, there was some pretty cool villain cameos with Doctor Doom and Baron Zemo, where they
Mm-hmm.
kind of had like that like screen where it looked like there was kind of like a hierarchy of villains like in the background
Yeah, like a
of
cabal.
stuff. Yeah, like if you guys have watched Young Justice, I know we've seen it. It felt like The Light, where like there's like that like behind the scenes villains with like Lex Luthor and like the Brain and fucking like Queen Bee and just like a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of the like high tier villains. I wonder if there's something a little bit like that going on,
Yeah,
which would be really
like
really cool.
like even with Bastion being taken out, that
Yeah.
cabal still exists.
Yeah, for sure. And if it is kind of like the light in Young Justice, it would be cool to see that as like that was one plan. When one plan falls, they have another plan. That was
Mm-hmm.
like all part of the plan type shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the plan was a part of the plan because we have plans on plans on plans. You know,
contingencies on contingencies. Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
cool.
But everything up to this point, almost everything that has happened in some way, shape, or form was either orchestrated by or had no effect on Bastion's plan.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah.
talked about it,
Up
like the
until where Magneto gets out, you mean?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Magneto getting out was definitely not. He panicked. You could see it
Right.
in Bastion's face, like, oh no,
Yeah.
like this
Well,
is
he kind
not.
of like immediately, I think, like almost knew like right away. Okay, like he's gonna shut down all of my machines. I'm gonna have to physically
Yeah,
go
talk
in
to
with my
them. Yeah,
mutant ability to like get them to work. It's kind of like like he had a contingency, but it was like, fuck,
yeah.
like damn it, that wasn't supposed to happen, type thing.
No, no,
Or at the very
and
least, not
yeah,
yet. Like that wasn't supposed to happen yet.
yeah. Like I was supposed to have everyone else gone first.
Yeah, right. Which was pretty cool. I did like how like his plan was so in depth that like he had people in positions of power turned into Sentinels. He had people close to the X-Men turned into Sentinels. He had
Mm-hmm.
people like everywhere in
It's
positions of necessity, like in all positions of necessity. He had like somebody there, which was really really cool. Yeah,
yeah,
but that Magneto, I'll tell you what, I was not ready. How cool that Magneto scene was. I wasn't ready for the boy to go and just wipe the planet.
yeah. Just full Omega level power.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yo. In this episode, we got to see my boy Nightcrawler doing some fighting. Loved
Mm.
one thing I liked a lot was that Nightcrawler wasn't clearly much of a fighter. Like
No,
he
this is the
doesn't
only
want
this is the
to
only
fight.
time we see him fight,
You know?
really.
Yeah.
And besides, in the
But boy,
Bastion.
my man is a menace.
Yeah.
Dude. fighting night.
untouchable, almost nigh untouchable. Like very few beings can
Absolutely.
get
Like the
him.
reason teleportation has always been one of my favorite superpowers is like that concept that like just like nobody could touch you if you're good enough at like using that teleportation. And man, when he picks up those swords, I was just like, oh, it's about to go down.
Yeah.
Dude, that
The
scene with him and Wolverine was
the
so
no, my
cool,
friend,
man.
9. Like I again, that's another moment where I like yelled. Like I'm like I don't know how long it's been since I've watched something that made me yelp out
Yeah,
loud multiple times while
100%.
watching it. Like genuinely.
Cry, scream in excitement, cry with sadness, like just like yeah, dude, the way that he was teleporting, like sometimes both him and Wolverine, and they were like switching places, like he was
Mm,
teleporting them both. Sometimes he was just teleporting himself. Dude, that shit was sick. That actually got me thinking because there's one of my very favorite comic books is the Uncanny Spider-Man, where
mm.
Nightcrawler is hiding on Earth, like masquerading as a Spider-Man. And it's like, dude, the type of mobility that he shows in that scene where he's just flipping and like dodging all that shit going on,
Yeah.
that is exactly why he was able to pose as a Spider-Man with no spider sense. Because, dude, my boy is out there, peak level mobility.
Yeah. Like he has I mean he was a I can't think of the word an acrobat in the circus and
Yeah,
stuff. Like
circus performer.
yeah, he I don't know. They did him such justice in this.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was
I couldn't agree
truly
more.
incredible. Like,
Yeah, I absolutely could not agree more.
yeah.
Uh,
How'd you guys feel about the Nightcrawler in this? I mean, there's someone's got to be your favorite and someone's got to be your least favorite,
yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
real tough with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end, we're going to try to talk about a little bit of what our favorite characters were. And I'm just like thinking now a little bit. And God, that's going to be hard.
It's tough. It's
It
tough.
is.
I mean, just like Jean does so much cool stuff,
Oh,
even like
yeah.
like Cyclops, some of the ones that should just be automatically like, oh no, those wouldn't be it, are up there. Like the don't screw with the Summers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was sick.
That was
Yeah.
so dope.
But yeah. And then that brings the episode to Charles getting there. And the next part of the
Tolerance is
trio. Yeah.
extinction. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was actually pretty cool to see Charles like missing his legs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
I
he was
mean, who
able to
wouldn't?
walk
Come
for
on.
like a while.
He
Like,
should have asked to keep the suit.
Like, he has
My
to
boy
keep
should
the
have been like,
suit. Like,
hey, so
and I'm keeping
consolation.
the suit. Like, and I'm keeping the suit. Like, come on.
Well, and he's clearly more powerful enough of a telepath to make them give him the
Right?
suit.
Yeah.
If they,
Yeah. They do mention that Lalandra is like a powerful telepath, but they
yeah.
never really seem to confirm which one is stronger. I'm assuming Professor X, because
So
he's like one of the strongest telepaths like in comics. But,
they do show it's Professor X because he's able to pull her into the astral plane and keep her there, just
that's
like
true.
Deathbird and
Yeah.
all the other ones. Like
Yeah, this is true.
they all have some kind of telepathic ability and they just can't do anything against him.
Yeah, this is true.
Like
Also,
that's what I think.
this episode really brought in kind of like more of a home feel to the X-Men again, kind of like episode 1. Even though like it was all destroyed and stuff, like we did get to see them like all kind of like being at home for a bit,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. Man, Beast and Morph's relationship is one of my favorite relationships that they showed in this show.
And they didn't show it enough.
No, they didn't, dude, and I love it so much. That when they see each other and they just hold each other's heads, I was like, bro, I love you guys.
They're
Like,
both just so good.
they're just like
good.
make anything bros. They're like, you want to make stuff, bro? Yeah, let's make stuff, bro. What do you want to make? Whatever. Let's just do it.
Yeah. They're Forge rather, right?
Right. Well, like, and
Yeah.
Beast, because like Beast he's such a genius. He can like
Yeah.
do almost anything as well. Like when their brains work together. Because like Beast is the one like in the original show, like he does so much. He'd be making those X jets in
Yep.
apparently one a month. Is what because Jean says this is the third one in as many months. So
And she says like Hank's not gonna be happy.
Beast out there like, nah, it's okay. I have a whole backlog
Mm-hmm.
ready and made.
And like they're clearly like you said, like engineer bros.
Yeah, I love that shit. That shit's awesome.
Yeah, Rogue
Uh,
wearing Gambit's jacket and
that was
then
cool. Yeah.
throwing it at Charles like this is on you too. Like you
Yeah.
should have been here.
Yeah. She gives it to him when she goes with Magneto.
Mhm.
Uh, like at that midpoint of the episode, which was pretty cool. I was kind of surprised that Sunspot went. I guess they needed somebody else to go, just so it's not like just Rogue, and Sunspot kind of makes sense. Where like the other ones kind of just like stayed out of a loyalty to Professor X, but it did feel like a lot of them like I said because of that loyalty, and they kind of did like be like yeah,
Yeah,
kind of just staying
they
because we love you,
understood
man.
that Magneto was right. They
Yeah,
get they get that he was right. They
yeah,
just don't agree with the way he's gonna go about doing it.
yeah, right, yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah, and that suit up that they do is
Oh,
absolutely peak, bro.
Cyclops is classic. Come on,
Yeah, dude,
come
that was
on.
awesome. That was like so cool.
Mm,
I love that. Also, when he gives Cable like his suit, like that was also pretty cool. I like that. I like how
The
Cable looked in the like classic Cyclops suit. That was like pretty cool.
yeah, super dope. I also did like the little interaction between them when uh, Cable was like what am I in a circus? And he says, "What'd you expect? Black spandex or
Like
black
this is
leather?"
black leather. Yeah, yeah.
The
That was
X
pretty
Men
funny.
2000, yeah. That was a great
Yeah, I did
line.
think that was cool. One thing that I did not like so much was I kind of disagreed with the whole concept that Magneto declared war on like the rest of humanity. At the very least, like that's just not how I saw it. I saw it more as him just being like, well, one, what he did to like wipe the planet of machines was kind of like bred out of necessity. It was either like do that or like mutants were going to be wiped out. Humanity was going to become like enslaved. Like, it was not going to
Mhm.
be good.
Yeah.
So he kind of like that was almost like a thing of like necessity. And then afterwards, he's kind of just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm just going to take this asteroid and I'm just going to leave. Like,
Yeah,
I'm done trying. I'm just going to leave.
he was
That's,
well, he
you know?
was gonna destroy the Earth. He was just gonna be like, I'm gonna destroy this ball of dirt. Nothing's gonna inhabit it, and then we're gonna leave. Like me
Yeah.
and a couple
Well,
of
I don't know
us.
if he was going to destroy it because he says, like, we'll watch them die from up here. Like, he was essentially like, he just didn't believe that they could come back from
Well,
this.
he
And he was just
was
like, like, we're just going to leave them and then they'll just die.
gonna alter the magnetic field enough where they could just go watch them die. Because if the
Yeah.
magnetic field is altered enough, over time everything goes extinct. And
Right.
that's why Charles had to get control of him so he
Yeah, I
could
get that, but to me, it just didn't
reverse
feel
that.
like a declaration of
But
war on
no,
humanity. It
no,
was just like a
for me,
declaration of war on Bastion, if anything. Or
it wasn't really a declaration of anything. It was
yeah,
just like he decided he was gonna destroy the Earth. He was
well,
like,
like yeah, I
I'm
guess,
done
but
with
like
the planet. If anything, it was a
yeah,
declaration of war on planet Earth.
yeah, I guess
Like,
just like I said to me, like if he didn't do it, everything was fucked. Like if
yeah,
he didn't do it and he didn't do it right then, like right at that moment, like everything was fucked. Bastion was like about
yeah,
to win,
exactly.
you know?
But the
Kind of spelled to me kind of like an Age of Ultron where like they kind of get blamed for like the whole Ultron thing and it's like yeah it was their fault and everything was bad and like the ramifications is really fucked up like what happened to Sokovia, like the alternative was Ultron was gonna wipe the
just
planet
yeah,
of
of
flesh
like
and like replace it with metal, which is kind of like what was gonna happen in like a
yeah.
roundabout way with this and it's like yeah
The issue with what Magneto did is that he kept going.
yeah
He kept
yeah
like destroying rather than like because the EMP knocked everything out and that would have just been it, but he kept altering the
or I
magnetic
guess he just
field.
didn't fix it and it was just like broken after that
Yeah,
because
and
he
he
doesn't
was
really
just
keep doing it because
no,
Charles
yeah,
like they
yeah.
like get to him.
He was going to just let it die.
Right.
That's why he had to use it to reverse it because like he was just gonna let the planet die and
Right.
like you said, get on the asteroid and leave and watch the planet die. And
Yeah.
like it's not just the people on the planet itself was gonna die.
Yeah, but like to me, like with him, he's like, yeah, you guys don't need us, right? Like figure it out, right? Like your science and like your human stuff can like do it. So like
Exactly, yeah.
figure it out. You figure it out.
He just didn't give a shit. That's
Yeah.
where the crux of it was. He
Yeah.
didn't do like I said, he didn't declare war on shit. He just didn't give a shit anymore. He was
Yeah.
done.
Which is pretty fair if you ask me.
Like he put up with way too much.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh my god. But Anyway, there were just so many moments in this show. It's hard to try and hit them all, but
Yes.
Storm and Jean when they reunite in episode 9, like,
man, that was so cool. Just their whole conversation when Storm tells her, I was thinking of you, like, while I was away, how my sister faced her darkness and emerged stronger. Like, that shit was so good, dude. She emerged like a survivor, a phoenix.
So good.
Dude, that was so beautiful, man.
And then like when this line hit me the first watch through, again, a gasp out loud moment. And it was so simple. Make them mind your weather, sister.
Yes.
Then weather your mind.
Dude, that might be actually the hardest line in the show. That like actually might be
It's nasty.
I think that is the hardest line in the show, dude.
Personally, definitely that was the one that hit me hard. Like it was just like I was like, oh, and then they proceed to make them mine.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, and that shit is awesome. And that shit is awesome. That brings me the Jean and Mr. Sinister fight, dude. That was so cool. I was so excited by that because like Mr. Sinister was such a presence and such a like vile villain in this season that like sometimes when like a villain gets like upped like so much, when it comes the time to like fight them or like confront them, like they usually kind of fall flat. And I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the case, and it definitely wasn't, dude. The way that he was fighting, like with the like shadows, where he looked like liquid almost, dude, that was so cool. And he was like bodying her, like not just like he wasn't just like holding his own, like he was like dominating the fight, which is impressive against Jean. She's like bad bitch.
Yeah, she is like she's one of the top of
goddamn Phoenix.
Yeah, she's got quite a bit of power inside of her.
Yeah, that was like really, really, really cool to me. Was Mr. Sinister like just like the way he was like talking mad shit the whole time too, just like getting into the mind games, getting into like
making
every advantage possible. Yeah,
doing what Mr. Sinister does, you know.
Yeah,
and
it's earned that namesake, dude.
Definitely, and even though he wasn't even like the big bad, they really showed that he is like important, or like like he's important in that like he matters, like he has gravitas.
Well, like one thing that I thought was really cool is that Trask says that like Sinister was like looking at his designs of the Sentinel. Like Trask is the one that made Master Mold. You know, he's like not a dumb man. You know, like a very good mechanical engineer.
Means, yeah,
and
the smartest on the planet.
I think he's like Sinister called my designs cute. You know, which is like just shows the level that like Mr. Sinister's on of his.
And the fact he's been alive for so long, he knows so many things. He's been able to accumulate so much knowledge.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really cool.
Yeah.
This episode actually kind of brought to me one of my other it's actually my main disappointment with this whole season of this show, and that was why
have Metal Man go fight the dude who controls metal? Like they've done it in. Here's the thing. They've done it in so many things. It's a trope, and it's an unnecessary, illogical.
I don't like it.
It's so illogical.
Especially with like
the man covered in metal go fight Magneto ever?
Well, like I said, it's kind of like we've talked about how thoughtful the like writer's room was, and how like everything had purpose, and I'm certain that this did too. You know, I'm sure that they wanted the adamantium out of his skeleton for some sort of story device going on in the future. But like
there were ways to do that without having Magneto do it.
Bastion could have had. I thought about this, would have been kind of interesting if like Bastion had infected Wolverine with the virus, that to like turn him into one of the human Sentinels, and it was like in his like adamantium, because like he couldn't infect Wolverine because Wolverine like would heal from it, so like he like put it in the metal. And
he was then able to extract it,
right, and then like ripped it out in like a show of like cruelty or power or whatever the fuck, you know, like not that like it would have been as clean as Magneto just like being able to rip it out, but like it could have been done if that was like the point to him going,
and it would have made more sense for that to happen strictly because of Metal Man.
Yeah, cause like when Wolverine stabs Magneto, like I didn't like that. Like when he's the one that takes the helmet, you know, like he's the one that takes it off his head. That bothered me.
If Magneto's super distracted, even if he's like
You
got
know?
shit flying at him, he's gonna feel
He's so attuned.
100 and
The
you know
half
or
ton
of metal coming up, running up behind him. He's gonna feel it. Just
yeah.
you know.
So that
I
was
don't
one
know.
thing that
If
kind of like
you
bothered
guys
me a
can
little
think
bit.
of a good reason for this,
Yes.
let us know. You just can't think of any logical reasons.
Yeah.
And one more thing. We also talked at length in the first part about Cyclops being a crazy good tactician
Mm-hmm.
in this, and
Yeah,
that's
he
one of the
wasn't a
reasons he
Wolverine
wouldn't have he
in
just
that scene.
wouldn't have it wouldn't have
Yeah.
made
Yeah, absolutely. And like I thought it was so that he could fight Rogue for a second, you know, because like Rogue was there, so like they're like, okay, like have Wolverine to like fight to like offset Rogue, but like that wouldn't work either. One, because like Rogue would stop the fuck out of him because he would not be fighting to kill because it's Rogue, so he wouldn't be fighting to hurt her. So like she would have the like complete advantage over him. You know what I mean? Like he can only really go, which would be perfect for Sinister, Bastion, like ones that like kill them, Wolverine, because like those are ones that like you know
we want to
like,
kill.
we want to stop them. We don't want to kill Magneto. We want to like get his help. We need his help.
Yeah, we can't kill him really. And even though, like, I don't know, if he would have successfully killed him, he would have just destroyed the world right there because no one would have been able to bring it back.
It would have been like, fuck, Logan.
Logan, why with the stabbing? Always with the stabbing.
Yeah, that shit is great. Also,
Yeah.
that brings me to the finale episode, and the way that Cable is crying, the way when Sinister is like forcing him to tell Bastion how many times he tried to
Save
stop
Genosha.
Genosha.
So good.
Yeah, that was really, really cool because he says like 200 times, which like doesn't sound like a crazy amount of time. But like think about like doing something 200 times. It's a lot of times. Like something like that, like 200 times.
That's tough. That's real
Which
tough.
also though was a really cool moment leading into the satisfaction because in the last episode he kills Jean, or you know, quote unquote kills her, and he tells him maybe you two should have listened to what history has to say about my mom, because that's that she's a bad motherfucker, dude.
She's not gonna be kept down.
She's a coming, which is just awesome, dude. The way that she comes out, that like claw that grabs Bastion out of this like air and like slams his ass down. Sick.
Yeah, and she goes hard like on Sinister. She like we just talked about, like the way that the previous Jean and Mr. Sinister fight went, like he was womping on her a little bit, like she was holding her own, but it was definitely his fight
his fight,
take. And in this, it wasn't even a competition.
Oh no, dude,
like,
that was so cool. The way she just pulls the DNA his body.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Like, yeah, that shit was so awesome. But man, I don't think anything trumps Rogue in this episode, dude. The way, bruh. One thing that I noticed that was awesome is that he immediately goes to the core of the asteroid. He's gonna like bring it down immediately. He doesn't like want to do any ceremony. You know, he's just gonna go there, take the core, and like bring the asteroid crashing down. And Rogue is actually the one that comes in there and like she bodies him, so she fights him to the moon. Like she takes him not only out of the core, like out of the core thing, protect the asteroid from him, but like she bodies the dude all the way to the fucking moon.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. Just keeps on going.
That shit was so cool. His name was Gambit. Remember it. Bah. Bro, I like jumped out of my chair like at that moment. Like not even by like my own will force. It was just like something lifted
just straight.
Like, dude, that was awesome. The way that she pulls his hair up and claps in his face, dude. That might be my favorite moment of the whole show. That shit was so disgusting, dude. That was so disrespectful. That was so unbelievable.
Look at me when I'm beating the shit out of you.
Dude, that was so... He doesn't even get to react to it, which is something I thought was so cool. Like, he is
just
like future incarnate, you know? Like, he just like goes to like this ultimate evolution level, and Rogue is just like bodying the boy. Like, that was awesome. Which he does like repair you know, he like repairs himself fully, but it does seem like there's like a limit to that. And there's
Because
like,
eventually the damage that they all collectively do starts showing, and
yeah,
that
it kind of
just
sticks.
like it shows just how high his regenerative capability is, and she probably diminished it quite a bit,
Dude,
like
like
a stupid amount.
loved that, man. Absolutely loved that. Uh, another
And
thing that I
then, sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, yeah, you know, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then when it shifts in perspective, and it's Sunspot going
Yes,
full
dude.
solar, and they're in the
Yo,
sky, just like streaming back. Like that was
that
just a
was
really
so cool.
creative and cool way to show his powers, because that's a
Because
really hard one aesthetically to show. Kind of like it's like the opposite of Jubilee in that like Jubilee's
absolutely,
literal big flashy fireworks, and his is just black dots.
yeah, right. Well, like his is like just like the power of the sun, which, like you said, was such a cool way to show how bright
He can
like
be.
he was shining like up there. That like the shift of perspective to where like they were saying that it looked like the sky was on fire, like from the earth, is just super super cool. Like, because like again, it just shows like one like the intensity of his power and like what he was putting out on Bastion, like in that moment.
He was able to hold his own for any amount of time, and
Yeah.
he's never trained really. He's done
Right.
very
Yeah.
little training. He's at his probably weakest and coolest form, you know what I mean? Like coldest
Yeah.
form. He
Yeah.
hasn't gotten nearly to the temperatures that he can get to,
Yeah.
like at all.
Which I just thought was like super cool. That shift of perspective, like again, genius. Whoever like, I love that like when like in a writer's room or like you know in like an artist's room or like whatever room that these people are in talking about this, that like whatever's coolest reigns supreme. You know, like I'm sure that maybe that moment wasn't written like that originally, and then like they were gonna show Sunspot like you know blasting Bastion or like whatever, and someone just had the idea of like, oh, like wouldn't it be cool if we did this like shift of perspective, showing how bright of a light he is like in the sky, and like they were like, yeah, that's cooler. Like
And
that
also, I just I
is
just
yeah,
thought of I just thought of this. It also shows like why humans are afraid of mutants, because they can do shit like
yeah,
that.
no, 100%,
It's
100%. Can you imagine? That'd be scary.
and like Kurt is the nicest and sweetest, most humble being, but he's a blue demon like thing that teleports like an absolute badass. That would be terrifying too, to just see him just teleporting anywhere, everywhere as a normal person. That'd
Oh
be
yeah, dude.
terrifying. Because the moves he puts on Bastion,
Dude, when it shows like Bastion's perspective and it just like shows like the blur of Nightcrawler like going past his like vision, that was so cool. But again, like that shift in perspective to show like what it looks like from the other side
what it's
and
like
like
to
how hard
be
it is to
have
like
to fight him. Yeah.
yeah, dude. Like that was awesome.
He
Like
has to
I knew
predict.
in that moment because it always happens to teleporters, you know, like they always
They
do
get
that
caught.
shit and then they get caught, you know, like I
Yeah.
knew it was coming. How long it took and like how he was like giving him the business there for a good second, bro. Again, like I was just like a giddy child, like watching that. Like it just took me back literally to being like 10 years old and just like seeing Nightcrawler do anything for the first time and being like, oh, whoa. So,
Yeah. Well, and this was only one of two fights that
yeah.
he had in the whole series,
Mhm.
in the whole season,
Right.
rather.
Yeah. Right. Uh, Another great thing in this episode, man, like we've been talking a lot about the fighting and how cool the action has been in this
It's
episode.
just back to back to back in this episode, though.
To me, also, this episode showed such a cool dynamic between Charles and Magneto's like brotherhood and their relationship with each other. The way the episode starts with like that bar scene and kind of gratifies that line with the waters where like they show that like Magneto's mind is like this like raging ocean of like these like I think he says he's like the waters are so cold, you know, which is just like such a powerful I
Yeah,
don't want to get in
shows
type
shows
thing.
that Rogue was exactly right. That
Yeah,
his hurt is
that
raging.
too. Yeah, yeah. And that like it's scary, you know, and like how Magneto was scared, like how he was just like the notion of like I don't want to get in. You know, like I know what it's like and like it's awful. And that shit was just awesome to me. Uh
And
one of
we
the
talk.
coolest
sorry,
Sorry, I was gonna.
we talked a little bit about his Eric being the only one to have had the experiences
Yep.
that he's had, and it just goes to show that when he delves through his hurt, it's unlike any other
Yeah.
character's experience, and Charles knows that.
Yeah, which is also something pretty cool that I think that like Charles kind of sits on a little bit of a high horse with Magneto, like when he's like conversing about like that part of his past. And one of my very favorite lines in the whole show is when Charles is telling him to use reason. He's like, use reason, like be reasonable. And Magneto tells him, turn this nostalgic parlor trick back a few more years into my childhood and see what happened when my village used reason while other people were using tanks. And like that is his mentality forever. You know, like he can't ever get that out of his head. Whereas like Charles can like omit that from his mind and be like, oh, like there's good people too. And like there's good things on from humanity. Like Magneto like can't get like the sound of the boots out of his head. And like that like his people were reasonable and like people came with tanks and like were unreasonable. Like that never changes for him, which is like the dynamic of him and Charles is so good because of that. Like Charles is like this like pragmatist that like thinks too much almost, whereas like Magneto like lives
As a
he's like
telepath,
this is like
you know.
yeah, exactly, whereas like Magneto's like I live in the real world like because of reality, like this is what happened type shit, where Charles like this is what could be, you
Yeah.
know, which is just a lovely parallel.
And again, like they show that Magneto, for the most part, has been right this whole time. That Charles' idealistic world, unfortunately, is not possible.
Yeah, is not realistic.
It's not realistic. Yeah, exactly. There were just so many powerful scenes between the two of them. Just everything was just so great.
Yeah, like when he tells him like that, like everybody left him, where he's like, so many people left me, like you left me. He's like, which begs the question, like, is he talking about like all like Mystique and like all of his like old like
the original Brotherhood of Evil,
that they're all like gone now, like moved on from him, type shit, and that was like another really powerful moment where it's like all of the people I love like either die or like leave me. Yeah, and he's like, you did it, you know, like what like Rogue did it, like everyone does eventually, which is just tragic.
And it's just it goes to show that's his accepted reality.
Yeah,
he's like, that's just what is going to happen to me, no matter what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, going back to the whole Bastion fight, the
boy Cyclops.
I've said it so many times that this is the coolest thing in this whole show, and then like another moment pops in my head, and like you just said it, the boy Cyclops, dude. That God, bro, the way he was using his like Bastion is a machine swinging at like who knows how fast, and Cyclops is just like dodging that shit, like flipping on his like hands, like fucking like doing like a kip up, dodging with his like blast, like bruh.
Using his blast to negate Bastion's attacks.
Yeah, dude. Oh, dude, you guys, if you haven't seen it, or if you're going to do a rewatch, 2208 in episode 10, there's a moment where Cyclops shoots an optic beam of his off of the wall. Yo, did you see
so
that?
For me, it was 2302.
What?
So So I don't know because I've been watching without ads. You've been watching with ads. That shouldn't affect it. I mean, it shouldn't have any effect on it, but
maybe it did.
Because I got to 2208 and I was like, I didn't see it. Like, did I miss it? And I went back and then I kept watching and was like, oh, for me it was 2302.
23. Well, one of those two. You see Cyclops shoot one of his beams off, and it bounces off the wall and hits Bastion in the back. Dude, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that I want from this. Like, god damn it, you guys.
Again, the best Cyclops we have ever seen by far.
He's so goated.
By far.
I will die on this hill. I will argue.
I'll die 1,000 times on that hill.
Anyone that this is the coolest Cyclops that I've seen. There has been really cool Cyclops moments in the comics, Like there's the one where he like lights the whole panel red when they're like fighting the Sentinel on the lawn of
Yeah.
the X Mansion, and Wolverine's like, every now and then, psych, you remind me why you're like number one around here. That shit's awesome. There's like a few moments between him
But
and Wolverine like fighting.
consistently
Yeah, dude.
throughout the whole thing, nothing top.
This was a
Nothing.
version of Cyclops that like I didn't even know I wanted. You know, like I didn't even know I needed it so bad.
I didn't. Yeah, I had no clue that it meant so much to me.
Yeah, which also brings me to Cyclops just like being the ultimate leader in the end when they're defeating Bastion and they're all kind of like, let's kill him. Like, let's go. Let's finish it now. And he's like, actually, like, no. We're going to do what we've been telling humanity to do for fucking years. Like, instead of fighting the future, like, let's get with it.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
don't make others suffer because we've suffered.
Yeah,
Because that's Magneto's mindset too.
Yep,
that's
sure.
that's the
that
crux
old person like mindset of like, I paid like student loans, so like you should too. Like just like that thing. I loved Cyclops like rising above that. Like, like no, like we're gonna take a page off of our own book that we've been asking, like we've been begging for, and like let's extend it out to like someone else. And it almost works for like a split second where they kind of like get through to Bastion, but then like like he's just like a little too far gone.
Well,
but,
and then at the end, by the time they do get rid of him, there's a line I can't remember now, where he says, Rogue or someone, Gene Rogue, someone says humans are having more and more babies than ever before, and more
like us.
of them are like us. And then the Magneto Protocol missiles come in, and he says, and he says,
something along the lines of like humanity would rather go extinct than have children like us.
Yep. And I do find interesting that he says like children like us, because for the majority of the show he references himself not really as a human or a mutant, but he more identifies like as a Sentinel.
Above, or like like
or like the next
step
evolution. Like a cross between a mutant and a Sentinel.
Yeah.
But he does reference himself as us, and that's also just heartbreaking. Like they were really gonna sacrifice themselves too. Like,
yeah, well, no, the X-Men were about to sacrifice themselves for humanity that would rather nuke the asteroid and just deal with the fallout than put their faith in them and listen to reason, just like Magneto had said. That like
exactly. Even though they've proven time and time again that they can.
In the moment before they declare before they send the nukes, T'Chaka, Black Panther, and Captain America both tell the president to use reason. They both are like, hey,
and
like,
Iron Man, yeah.
Yep, they're like, this might not be the good choice. He still goes through with it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Which, yeah, I mean, there has been so much that we have talked about already, and there's like more to talk about, even like how the main team is in 3000 BC.
Yeah, the time displacement.
I'm so excited to see season 2, dude. What's going on? Excited to see Bishop and Forge make a new team to go like save the X-Men. I'm assuming there's going to be like 2 different teams, one for the future, one for the past type shit.
Yeah, I'm
so excited.
I'm really stoked for a lot in season 2.
Is this going to be like a weird take on like a Days of Future Past?
It could be, yeah, like a slant of it. Interesting.
Pretty cool, honestly.
Like they could do that with the Apocalypse storyline.
Yeah,
like,
I think that would work
mix them together. Cool.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I didn't notice until like you pointed it out on the second watch through that Jean and Scott are the only ones that are in the future with Nathan.
Yeah. It's like the whole rest of the team.
And Mother Ascani, who I didn't know who that was. I figured it was a character, so I looked it up, and that's an alias of Rachel Summers.
Yeah,
so is that
really
like their
weird.
daughter somehow? It's they set up a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking for some answers. One thing that I am most excited to see in season 2 is, in my opinion, you guys let me know how you feel about this. I very much so think that we're going to see Horseman of Death, Gambit, coming in season 2. Just the way that Apocalypse grabs his card in his hand, like right as he says the word death. and like it ends the season like right on that note, like the first thought in my mind was just shit. Death Gambit.
Gambit will be
And
back. He'll
God,
be
I'm
the
so
first. He'll be the
excited.
death. And
God, I'm so excited.
I'm pretty sure that Omega Red is going to be Pestilence.
That would be really cool. That would honestly be really cool. I was watching some of the old like seasons just because like I've been just so into this X-Men shit after watching this that like I just can't get enough. So I just like went back and watching the old stuff again. But Omega Red is in it quite a bit. He's in like a few episodes, but he's always kind of like they unfreeze him. Then he like goes on a mission, then they freeze his ass, and then like it seemed like in this one he got unfrozen again.
And he stayed on, like, there was a scene where him and two other people were like fighting.
Yeah, it was like the Red Guard. It was like Crimson Dynamo. It looked like it might have been in him, which was super cool. I actually am wondering if we're gonna see like maybe like him and Wolverine like a bit of an X-Force thing like happen.
That'd be
With like this
interesting.
whole Wolverine losing his adamantium or something like that. That could be really cool. But yeah, you guys, we have been talking about so many different things, and like one thing that I'm really really curious if you guys want to give us some feedback on is who is your favorite character in this whole season? Like which character for you was the one that like was just pushed it above like everyone else? Honestly, for me, I have to, it's hard. It's so hard to not say, like Gambit because of the death moment. For me, Nightcrawler's always been my favorite character, like always since I was a little kid. So but man, I think Rogue was my favorite character in this, at the very least, in this back half of
Yeah.
the episodes.
Yeah, that's
She
a
was
good
just
one.
so cool, man. She's such like one of the basic characters that she was just used in such awesome ways. Really, I loved her character in this. What about you? What would you say your number one character was?
Action wise, I don't know.
Or yeah. How about that? Like your favorite like moments, action wise or non action wise? How about that?
I don't know. As far as like overall favorite character in the whole show, in specifically in how they were portrayed, the like gravitas that they had on screen. Honestly, I might go with Mister.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's awesome. Uh, hell yeah.
Like
He was awesome.
when we were setting this up, I originally was thinking Cyclops just because of how good of a portrayal he was.
Yeah.
But something about the way that Mr. Sinister like communicated and was just so sinister. Like he really lived up to his name.
Yeah.
And I think as far as like best portrayals, my favorite portrayals of a character, it's gonna be Mr. Sinister for this season.
Hell yeah.
But my favorite, and by the way, guys, we strongly encourage you all to answer any or all of these questions as well in the comments, let us know. But my favorite action moment, I'm gonna have to go with the 9 swords, the 9 blades.
Oh yeah, okay, the Nightcrawler Wolverine moment, yeah, dude, that shit is so awesome.
There's so many though. I gotta say there's so
many. I think for me, it's either gonna be that Cyclops versus Bastion, like that little snippet where he's just dodging around and then like uses that blast off the wall, or again Rogue when I'm gonna have to go with Rogue pulling Bastion's hair
and clapping
in his face, dude. That like it got such a physical reaction out of me when I was
just so disrespectful.
Yeah, like it's just like I wish that there was like a camera on me, like when I saw that for the first time, just because like it went through my body. I was like,
yeah,
so disrespectful, so cool. So yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna have to go with that.
What was your biggest gripe? What was the thing that you enjoyed the least about this show?
Yeah, I'm really curious to what you guys are going to say about this. Please, if you're going to answer any question of ours on the comments, answer what was your biggest dislike with this season, with this show, with what they did, if there was any, and what it was. For me, honestly, it'll be Wolverine being on Team Fight Magneto. Just the concept of him going to fight against Magneto instead of Bastion and Mr. Sinister, that would probably be my biggest, the biggest thing that like lessened the experience enough for me to where I was like, damn it. Like, I really wish they would have done that different.
Mine is actually also with Magneto, just kind of in general, though. Like, I guess the best way to put it is I really wish they would have given him more time with Morph and they would have had more moments with Morph because that was really the only part about Wolverine in this that was like interesting or engaging for me.
Oh yeah.
For the
You mean
most part, he
Wolverine?
was.
You said Magneto. You mean
Oh, I
you
did.
mean
Yeah, I meant.
yeah.
Sorry, I meant Wolverine. Obviously, not Magneto,
Yeah.
but but Wolverine and and the way that how little he got to do for one, which I understand the point of that he was in the original a lot.
Yeah.
But I still think it would have been a lot. I don't know. Like I said, I was very engaged in the Morph Wolverine side story, and I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
want them to pay that off in
Same.
season 2.
Same.
I
I
want
really
them to
hope
have
that
a
like him
full
waking up
discussion.
to like another moment like where he could have died like this or something, like another like serious moment. He kind of like wakes up with Morph there, and they kind of because I ship it. We be shipping it.
Absolutely, yeah.
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 Another question that I'm extremely curious about is what characters do you guys want to see the most in season 2? What like obscure X-Men or like be it from Forge's board that is like on there? That like he had some like pretty funky characters on the board, or like some that just are like, what's like your most obscure X-Men that you want to see in season 2? For me, would probably be I think Iceman, because Iceman was in the original show and he was kind of like this like bad boy character. I'm kind of curious to see like how his character would have grown. Or the next one that I want to see the most honestly would be like Armor. I
Mm.
think that like in this new animation style that like we currently have going, that like her powers would look super cool.
All right, yeah, that those both would be a lot of like Iceman is one of mine as well.
Yeah.
Actually, what I was just thinking, I would want to see Colossus,
Ooh, yeah.
or I'd want to see Iceman and Pyro. I'd want to see how their
Okay, yeah.
relationship,
Yeah, totally.
evolved over the years.
Yeah. And
That's that's what I think. I think would find interesting.
yeah, hell yeah. And I mean, you guys, what a journey that this has been. And if you have made it with us this far, we cannot thank you guys enough. I know that this has been a long session here, and I'm certain that you noticed that I just absolutely loved the reawakening of this series. This show was just so special to, I know, me and probably you too, Kyle, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting to see a continuation of that show that like was so integral to our childhood as adults. It just feels something honestly that is like too good to be true. You know what I
And
mean?
yeah, and hopefully we get a little bit more. Hopefully some of those
Oh
cameos that we saw with Spidey and Cap and
yeah,
Iron Man.
dude.
Hopefully we get a resurgence of all of those shows and a couple new ones, Cloak and Dagger.
Oh
There's a
man, can you
lot.
imagine if they use this to like create like a connected animated universe? Man, that would be God, that's the next step, dude. That would
That's
be
the
so
dream,
cool.
babe.
Dude, seriously. That would be absolute blessing. But yeah, let us know. Do you guys agree with that? What would be the number one show? Let's assume that they're reawakening the whole Marvel animation.
from
What would be
from
one
the
of the like
90s.
what would be one of the shows from the 90s that you guys would want to see started back up the most? I
Or
think
or a new show that's never been made,
yeah, well, you're
what would
right.
you see?
Absolutely. I think for me, I would want to maybe see I'm thinking either Doctor Strange,
Hmm.
a Doctor Strange show would be really cool, or Fantastic Four. To be honest, just like really miss that Fantastic Four feel. I know we're getting a movie soon, but it's just been too long that I've seen a good version of those characters, and I'm nervous for the movie, so I just really like to see this in animation, you know?
At least something that's gonna hit, because animation at this point rarely misses.
God, it just hits so hard and
It's
so well.
crazy. I mean,
But yeah,
yeah. So, real
once
quick,
again, no,
sorry, I was just gonna say real quick with the Doctor Strange. I'd also like to see Iron Man because we're not gonna see any
oh
of him
yeah,
going
no,
forward.
that's a really good point. Can you imagine if they got RDJ to voice?
It wouldn't be that hard. Voice
Dude.
acting's like a coveted job these days.
Oh yeah, that would be. I'll trade my limbs for it. Dude. That would be so good. Because especially like in this show, when they show Iron Man and he has like that like classic like looking suit on, it looks so cool.
Yep.
It was such a satisfying moment.
Yeah, the
Oh yeah,
classic
we could just
90s
talk and talk and talk about this all day
forever.
long. But again, thank you guys all so much. If you enjoyed this type of content, please do not forget to hit us with a like and a follow on all our social media platforms. We are Host for Hire Pod on X or Twitter, and we are Host for Hire Podcast on everything else. Thank you again. If you made it this far, we love you so much, and we will see you next time.
Next time on Hosts for Hire, we're going to be covering Deadpool and Wolverine next week on opening day. We're going to watch it technically on Thursday, the day before the early showing, and then we're going to do the episode on opening day and bring it to you guys. Be sure to join us as we talk about our experience during the movie, how we felt about it, some of the cooler moments and scenes that stuck out. This movie does have a lot on its shoulders with how good the last two were, all the hype that surrounded it, all of the movies that we've gotten previously, recently. It's got a lot to live up to, and we're excited. So be sure to watch it as soon as you can and join us for the conversation. See you next time, and stay nerdy, San Diego.